me in suspense the entire time watching the Lost Leonardo. I mean, it was on the news, but sometimes, and I admit I'm one of those people that did not really pay attention to that headline and everything that it was involving behind the big picture. But you definitely kept me in suspense.
Great. I'm happy to hear that.
So what made you want to be involved in such a phenomenal story?
Well, it was from when I heard it to begin with. It was, I mean, I was completely fascinated by it, and there's so many layers to it, so many aspects to it that just makes it an incredible story. Just the fact that the painting was discovered and bought for almost nothing, and then 12 years later it became the most expensive piece of art ever sold, and now belongs to a Saudi prince. It's too good to be true. And then on top of that, the whole authenticity question: is it a real Leonardo or not? And it turns out that it's impossible to determine, and that, I think, that makes really for a fantastic story. And then after hearing about it, I started approaching the different characters, and all of them are great characters, and each one have like a personal story to it as well. So I was trying to figure out how to include that in the bigger story, and that was challenging, but exciting. And I was especially fascinated by the restorer Diane Modestini and her personal story in it.
Yes, we got to watch a lot about her, and how, you know, she kept getting dragged in stories about it, and being the American that did the retouch. What was it like to work so closely with her?
It was a great experience. I mean, she's a really nice lady, and she's a brilliant professional as well, and she has devoted so much of her life to restoring art. And with this painting, it was especially personal, because she had just lost her husband just before starting working on it, and he was a famous restorer himself, and she was doing this restoration work while she was in grief, and she created this bubble around herself and the painting, and spent years in that, and I felt that that was a beautiful story in itself. And at the same time, when she finally completed the restoration, she was faced with all this criticism of her work, and she was blamed for transforming it into a Leonardo and so on. And she wanted to defend herself and to defend the painting. So in a way, she's the painting's mother. And eventually the painting is lost. It's bought by an oligarch who stores it somewhere in a free port, and then he decides to sell it on to a Saudi prince that again like locks the painting away somewhere, and she feels frustrated, and she wants to find it, and she wants to make sure it's all right. So she had like a personal investment in the painting, and I felt that was a crucial part of the story as well. You have all these different people talking about it, giving their opinions on the painting, and then you have one person who actually cares so much for it, so she's ready to give everything. I think that was an interesting contrast between these kind of cynical characters who speculate in art and so on, and then this lady who invests her whole life in it.
Yeah, she became a big protagonist in this documentary, which I did not anticipate. And surrounded by, like you mentioned right now, she's like the mother of the painting, and but this painting is surrounded by so much greed.
Exactly. That's I think the story shows both the best and the worst of human beings, because it seems like we are, I guess many of us are attracted to this this idea of a lost treasure, of something that is authentic, something that is made by a genius, something that can reflect our soul, and we put so much into it, and that goes for a lot of art. But then on the other side, it also shows how people who get close to this painting, they are somehow put under a spell, because they suddenly get the sense that they have something really precious in their hands, and then they might lose their critical sense or might look different on it. And yeah, I find that those elements really fascinating, that this painting really gets both sides of human nature. It brings them forward and into play in that way.
Yeah, big personality tester, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You brought up something that I was not familiar with, and maybe a lot of people will be able to relate with me, was the whole transit when it comes to the Freeport. It's unbelievable how you open this up, and obviously with this another one of the characters, which was what, Yves Bauer?
Yves Bouvier. Yeah, the Swiss.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the Swiss art dealer. Yeah, who developed this whole Freeport system, or had a crucial role, and became known as the Freeport King. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
wow, unbelievable how this guy made like over 40 million within 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw that, I actually had to rewind the screener, because I was like, did I hear this right? Like, I don't understand. Like, maybe it's just me, but no, I was like, wow, that's unbelievable. The way he just did business, like he says, it's just me being business, not, not cheating.
Yeah, exactly. He's a fascinating character. He actually did that 37 times. So he made a profit of around $1 billion by buying art and selling it on to this Russian billionaire Ribolovlev. So yeah, and it's fascinating also because I mean, it's definitely greedy, but is it illegal? It's been tried in several different trials between the two of them, and he has not lost yet. So the Russian billionaire claims that he had hired Yves Bouvier as his art advisor, but there's no documentation of that apparently. So Bouvier claims that he was an independent art dealer, just selling to the Russian billionaire. But as you see in the film, he's openly lying in emails, but apparently it's not illegal. So it's kind of mind-boggling how that can happen. But yeah, but he was very generous in speaking to us. But we figured out that it was also because he was in these ongoing lawsuits, and for him to tell his story in the medias was like a counterattack, because he had been attacked in the medias by the Russian billionaire who had hired like media bureaus to like to create like bad stories on Bouvier, and so this was like his way of fighting back. So and that was great for us, but we also had to keep a critical distance and like to try his statements as well, and put them up against counter statements. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, so he used in his favor, for sure.
Yeah.
So what I got to, one of the fascinating things I liked as a director when it came to this documentary was how you did the camera work, where so we all know who those experts, that the individual is talking about.
Actually, I mean, it was done in the editing, so it was thanks to our editor who started to play with these interviews in that way. So it was not a a concept that an idea I had from the beginning, but we wanted, I mean, we knew that most of the story would be told in interviews, and at the same time, we didn't want to make like a talking head, boring film, but so we really wanted the interviewees to speak together, and because they all talk about the same painting, then it was natural like to play them up against each other. So but it's really thanks to the editor, Nicolas Staffolani, that it became like that, and that it became dynamic and almost like they are in the same room reacting to each other. But they are of course reacting to my questions, but that is related. Yeah. So it's yeah. But I'm happy like that.
That was a brilliant concept to do.
That was our ambition. It shouldn't be, the film shouldn't be just for people who have a certain interest in arts. It should be for everybody. And I think it has the elements of like treasure hunt and authenticity and all that. So to really engage a broader audience than just art interested people.
What do you think of the Lost Leonardo?
If it's real or fake, I have decided not really to share my opinion, but I stay open towards that question. I'm curious to see in the future if there's any definitive proof. Before that, I think it's impossible to say, because I'm not even an art scholar in any way, so I don't feel that I'm in the right position. But I understand both camps, of course, and I think there are like some really heavy arguments on both sides. So it's, yeah, it remains a mystery.
It remains a mystery for sure. So do you think in our lifetime we're gonna be able to get to see this Lost Leonardo?
I think, well, my feeling is that it's gonna be exhibited within the next few years in Saudi Arabia. I think they are planning to exhibit it in a newly built museum. They are building several new museums right now, and they are promoting themselves as a more cultural nation. And I think this painting is part of that whole rebranding strategy. So I think they want to do as France does with the Mona Lisa, to attract millions of tourists. And yeah, the painting was, they bought the male Mona Lisa, so I guess that's natural for them to think that they can do the same.
Yeah, and that was a brilliant marketing technique, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I hope to see it in my lifetime. That's the reason I asked. I wanted to know your opinion, so there's hope.
Yeah, definitely. Really nice talking to you.
Likewise, thank you so much. You take care.